Hey guys, my name is Ivan and today we are going to talk about the monster of a manga called Hajime no Ippo. The reason why I call this manga a monster manga is the size of it. It's one of the longest running manga ever and it can be very scary starting it. When people get scared of reading Bleach and Naruto because of the size, you can imagine the fear of starting something like Hajime no Ippo that has 1,320 chapters. It can be very intimidating to start reading something this long, but I would definitely encourage people to read the story. It is not without reason that this manga is running for this long, from 1989 all the way to 2020. Its ability to entertain us has never faltered. There are many reasons why you should take on a monster like this story. The satisfaction of finishing it, because let me tell you, it's a great feeling. The feeling of growing with the characters and seeing them achieving their goals after all the struggles they have been through. I love going through long stories like this, and Hajime no Ippo fits perfectly into this category of good long stories. Now, let's talk about the show itself. What are its strengths, its weaknesses, where it thrives, and where it falls. The main strength of this show is its characters, how they develop and interact with each other. It's very important to the show, and luckily there are many good characters in this show. Let's start with the main character Ippo. Ippo starts off as a weak kid who gets bullied because he works to help his mom with her fishing boat. Since he works with fish all day long, he smells of fish, and bullies use that as an excuse to torment him. His classmates try to get him to hang out with them more often, but because he has to work to help his mom, he always denies them. Hence, he has trouble making friends. This is the Ippo that we get introduced to at the start of the show. With time, he grows more confident in himself and makes good friends that will stick with him through both the good times and the bad times. If there is something that I dislike about Ippo, it's that while he does grow stronger and more confident in himself, he never stops doubting himself either. And I know that this is something that comes from the fact that he was bullied and he has low self-esteem. But I still hope for Ippo to be more confident in himself. He is a great boxer that has achieved many things and he should believe in himself more. Next, we have Akamura Mamoru, who is basically the opposite of Ippo. He is tough, strong-willed, has ambition, and is super talented in boxing. The show makes it clear that while Ippo has talent, he is a strong hitter, Takamura is on a whole other level. And he has to be if he wants to accomplish his goal of conquering 6 weight classes, which is crazy, but he is well on his way to accomplishing it. Takamura has a great connection with the coach, whom he sees as a father figure, and honestly, I think his connection to the coach is the strongest in the gym, even stronger than the one Ippo has with him. This is really important because it shows us the person Takamura is behind his arrogant nature and action. He is someone who cares a lot for his friends and is always willing to help, even if his help comes through classical Takamura behavior. It is the reason people like him. If he was just an arrogant, successful jerk, nobody would like him. It's because we know that Takamura cares for his friends, and he shows that through his actions, even if he comes off as a jerk. He does what's right, and we love him for it. If there is one thing that I don't like about him, it's that he is nowhere near rich enough for his success. I mean, seriously, with all his success, he should be rolling in it. But no money for him, and it's not just him. No boxer in the show is truly rich, and honestly, he should be, especially Ippo. I mean, it would help his mom so much that she would not have to work so hard, and there is no reason why he's not making money. He is super popular in the show with a lot of fans. Getting back to the topic of characters, we can't forget Ippo's rival, Miyata Ichiro, who is Ippo's true opposite. Where Ippo is fired up in a match, Miyata is calm and calculated. where Ippo is an in-boxer who likes to get close to his opponents and slug it out with them. Miyata is a fast out-boxer that loves to use counters. Their rivalry is one of the best things to follow in this long story, and the wait for them to finally fight is gonna make that fight all the more epic. There are countless other characters, like the coach, Kamogawa Genji, who is trying his best to make Ippo into his version of an ideal fighter, and he helps Nakamura by pointing him in the right direction, or Kimura Tatsuya and Aoki Masaru, who act a lot like a comedy relief, but in actual fact have a lot more to them. And honestly, I really like these guys. They are great, and there are so many other characters that I don't have enough time to talk about all of them. This is to be expected from a show that's been going on for so long. The other strength of Hajime no Ippo is its fights. They are some of the best fights in manga world. The art in them is amazing. Choreography is brilliant. There is real suspense most of the time. You don't know who is going to win the match. It's also one of the most realistic sports manga out there, owing to the fact that the author, George Morikawa, has his own boxing gym and has been a second to many matches, so he has real experience in the sport. That is always a big plus with me. This realism seeps into the signature moves of various fighters that are real moves just over dramatized to fit the genre, like for example, Ippo's signature move, Dempsey Roll, which is actually a real move that was used in boxing matches. First created by Jack Dempsey, Ippo came up with the idea without knowing it already existed, while watching how Mike Tyson bobbed his head and used the momentum to punch. Now, let's talk a bit about the negative stuff, because there are some. One example that I can come up with is that the manga can get repetitive. Unfortunately, that is the side effect of it being a boxing story, since we mainly go from one fight to another, and that can get repetitive. Since the formula for Ippo fights is very similar, Ippo gets a new match scheduled, he sees that his opponent is strong, and he usually has some special technique or is really good at something. Then Ippo struggles hard by training hard. Then Ippo struggles hard by training to find a way to beat his opponent. His coach comes up with something and then they train. The day of the match comes, they fight, Ippo gets beaten up a lot, but somehow manages to win. Sometimes he loses, I will admit, and then off to the next fight. This can get pretty repetitive. Thankfully, that's when fights involving other characters come up. And personally, these are my favorite, since you usually don't know who is going to win. One other thing that really bothered me is the fact that Ippo gets hit a lot, and I mean a lot. It's usually his iron will that gives him the victory, but this is not a good style, since it can lead to dangerous injuries. Fortunately, this gets addressed in the show, so I won't talk about it anymore. It's a spoiler to tell you what happened, so read it for yourself. And lastly, the worst thing about this show is the romantic subplot that doesn't go anywhere. After so many chapters that by this point, I have given up on it. For heaven's sake, don't keep leaving it in this status quo forever. Do something with it. All in all, this is all I wanted to talk about regarding Hajime no Ippo. It's a great show, and I encourage everyone who likes manga to read it. Or at least watch the anime, since the anime adaptation is great and covers a lot of the beginning. So it's a great way to begin the show. This is the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and if you have any manga you want me to talk about, comment down below. That's all. Share, like, and subscribe. Bye.